Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Numana, and I'm the host of Birth Guardians along with Sarah Bisarello and Nova Soluna. And we are so excited to have our speaker here today, Whapio, the Matrona, who has deeply impacted my life. I did her doula training back. Everybody, welcome. I did My name is her doula training back in 2018, and it had such a profound impact on the way that I hold space in my womb healing work. And so I welcome Whapio here. She is a pioneering force in midwifery and holistic birthkeeping. Her life's work has centered on raising the consciousness of birth, reclaiming it as a sacred rite of passage, and transforming how families, caregivers, and community engage with the childbearing journey. And she oftentimes speaks about birth as an essential role of consciousness in caregiving and believes that birth will transform not only the experience of birth, but the very fabric of how we live and relate to each other. The way that we give birth is key to this. And so I'm excited to receive this really impactful webinar workshop from Whapio that was, I would say, hands down, one of my favorites in her training. It's called The Sacred Witness. And Whapio, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about yourself and what the Sacred Witness is, and then I'll just let you take it away.
Well, okay. Thank you for having me, and thank you for showing up if you're listening to this. And if you know me at all, you know that when I begin a voyage like we're having now, I always want to give thanks to the people who have supported me, all right? People whose shoulders I stood upon. And the first, there'll be three of them. On the first is the Grand Midwives of the South. These were African American women who went to a very short midwifery program, like 6 weeks. All right. And they took care of all the women in their counties where they lived. And they were not clinically trained. They did not do clinical things at all. They didn't do vaginal exams. They didn't listen to heart tones or any of the things that we might do today. And their statistics are some of the best in all of midwifery. All right. So just remember that. That we sometimes have said years ago, I used to hear, oh, there's no more midwives, the chain has been broken. The chain of midwifery, of women helping women, supporting women in birth, that has never been broken. All right. And so my hats off and greatest respect to the grand midwives of the South who held midwifery while the rest of us were wondering what was going on with hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. They were quietly just catching the babies, all right, in their counties. Number two, I'd like to thank Dr. Michel Audin from France, who died actually a few weeks ago. He was in his 90s, and he is often called the person who brought undisturbed birth to the world. That concept, he conceptualized it, and then he practiced it, undisturbed birth. And he has been and always will be one of my teachers, all right, for his work with undisturbed birth. And I'll tell you, one of the best things I loved about Michel Audin was he is probably the most humble man I have ever known. And I feel like that is so big a component now in birth keeping, that we remember that we are that we are not the center of a woman's birth. Okay, we are her sacred witness. We are her sacred, silent, wise woman. You know, women from the free birth community talk to me a lot about how their birth was, the most empowering thing they had ever done. And then they say, but I wish I had had a wise woman in the room. I wish I had had that silent witness in the room, not to guide me, not to offer suggestions even, just to witness me as, and her role is she's the presence of reassurance in the room, the presence of love and reassurance in the room, that wise woman who is respected, all right, and loved, and who gives you the same. Gives women love and respect for who they are. And so I want to thank, all right, I want to thank Michel Odon for his work with undisturbed birth. Absolutely. And then I want to thank, wow, the families that I have worked with that have taught me so well what women really want, and have helped me articulate what women want. And the more I was able to articulate what women really want in birth, now I'm talking about the women that are drawn to me and to the idea of an undisturbed, holistic type of a birth, okay? What I would hear from women is this: Whapio, we want our births. We want our own births. All right, I know what that means, right? We want our own birth. We don't want the midwife's birth. We don't want your birth. We don't want I don't want my sister's birth. I want my birth. I want to own it from the beginning to the end. And I know what they mean. All right. And so this is my magic in life, all right, that I have listened to women over and over again for, oh, I don't know, 42 years now, all right? And it's just coming up now. I've been waiting for this. I would hear this rumbling under the ground and I would be like, what is that? That's women coming. Women are coming. They are rising. They want to take back their births. They want family. They want it to be seen as the creation of family. And if I come as your sacred, wise woman, just to be the presence of reassurance in your room, just to sit over in the corner and knit a hat. Because if the midwife is knitting a hat in the corner, I guess everything's okay. All right. So the thank you to the grand midwives, to Dr. Michel Odon, and to all those women who've taught me about, all right, sacred birth. All these women who've said, we want our birth. And the Matrona is dedicated to that, as am I. So I say, well, who will stand with you? We will. We will stand with you, because that's part B. A is we want our birth, and B is who will stand with us. We're not saying that we want to do this alone. And over these years, over these 42 years that I've been in birth, well, I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen, when I was a baby midwife back in the 80s, early 80s, you know, you had home birth. Home birth was not a big option. Most everybody went to the hospital. And then we had birthing centers. We were evolving, where there's women wanting more choice and more autonomy in their births. Well, okay, we opened up the idea of a birth center where things were more relaxed and where women had more input in their decision making. All right. And then midwives came on, the reality train, in the sense that a lot of people thought that midwifery, the concept of midwifery that kind of rose up again in the late 60s, was a hippie phase, and it would go out of phase. Who wants to go backwards to having your baby at home? These are the things I would hear. And I would say, you wait. So, you know, it's time. It's the timing of things sometimes. Midwifery wasn't ready right back in those days in the late 60s. But in the middle of the 80s, wow, oh yes, it was. And women wanted more choice. More women were coming to birth. They didn't want to go in a hospital. They didn't really want a birthing center, because they felt like a birthing center is like a hospital, only nicer. All right. The same protocols are still attached. Or okay. So then what happened? Oh, midwives. Okay, so midwives kind of blew up a lot. And then what I've lived to see is that we've had a wild birth. Women wanting to be wild in their birth, and uncaptivated, and the ability to be uninhibited, not be inhibited in their birth in any way, be uninhibited. Why? Because That's what this is. This is transformation. And I don't want to be contracted, okay, when it comes to transformation. I want to be able to be open and receive what I know this birth is going to give me. This is what women were saying, and they understood that that's what they wanted. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes women couldn't put it into words. Women would say, Whapio, I had a really good birth. I mean, I loved my midwife and it was, there were no complications or anything. But why do I feel like something is missing? Why do I feel like I missed something? What is lacking? I know what that is. And I want to share that with you today. All right. I know what it is. All right. I've heard it many, many times in these past, 20 some years. Women telling me what they want. What is that, Whapio? Can you put your finger on that? What is that? Can you articulate it? Yes. All right. Birth is one of the most amazing transformations that a woman and a man and a family can have. It really is being here to populate the world. And it's not just you, all right? And it's not just you and your partner, and it's not just you and your partner and me, and then the baby. It's all of us. All of us in the world are participating in a transformation with every single woman who gives birth. All right. And there are many ways to do that. And there are many wonderful stories of it. And there are many broken hearts about it. But this is part of weaving the web of who we are in as humans and in humanity. So what I see, all right, is that women are telling me that they're missing something. And I'm saying to them, I understand. Because you were told that birth is a rite of passage, right? And in that rite of passage, you will learn to develop your internal compass rather than rely on the external compasses of other people who may be well-meaning, all right, and loving, but that's not you. All right, that's not your internal compass that you're listening to. You're listening to someone else's. And part of the transformation of birth, I'm going to say this a lot, is that you learn how to act from your soul level. All right? Your internal compass, I'm calling it, to where you come out of this birth, not just thinking and not just feeling, but knowing more about who you are and who your partner is and who is this baby and how do you work together seamlessly as a family. You know things. In part of labor is making an act of will to move all the way up to the top of the mountain and even reach your baby, okay? It's kind of like that metaphor where you're going on that journey through the foothills on the mountain between the worlds, summoned to the top. Okay, this is labor. This is what an amazing thing this is. And we've kind of scoffed over that. All right. We think, oh, yeah, the medical definition of birth is the expulsion of the contents of the uterus. Well, no wonder. If that's the template that we are given for birth, to get the baby out as safely and as quickly as possible with no other obstacles. All right? The expulsion of the contents of the uterus. Where's the transformation? Where's the changing over, from the external, following the external compass to the internal compass? All right. I know you know what I mean. And I know you know that this is a process, that this is a rite of passage, that you get to be you. All right. You find yourself uninhibited. Your true nature evolves. All right. You have work to do here now through this pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. World work, mothers and dads and families. All right. And so your birth equips you to do this. And that's what women are sadly missing. And they don't know how to articulate it sometimes. Like, well, what is it? What did I miss? You had a wonderful midwife. She was the center of your birth. She told you what to do. She guided you through everything. There were no complications. You are happy to have your child. But what about the transformation? What about what is internally in you? Who held that piece for you? The sacred witness. All right. Over the years, as I've been in birth, about 10 years in, I recognized something. All right. I wrestled with the angel. The dark angel came and told me something that it was brewing in me all this time. Something is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And then I realized what it was. It was me, all right, taking the lead in another woman's birth. It was me being the center of her birth, guiding her all the way. And completely missing, even though I knew this, birth is a rite of passage, and you can't do someone's rite of passage for them. This is something a woman does alone. And do we really allow women to be alone? No, no, we really don't. We fill up every inch, all right? Every inch of what their birth is. We don't take the time to realize that this is their birth and we need to sit on the sidelines. This is their birth. And for those of us that want to serve birth, well, if you want to be a servant, most servants basically sit in on the stand by the wall in the corner and wait till they're called. All right. And I have heard stories of, women saying, "Oh, I just asked my midwife to just be there. And if I needed her, I would call her." And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm saying. We weren't really allowing women to orchestrate their own rite of passage. We were telling them, we still are, that birth is amazing and that you were meant to give birth. All right. And your body knows how to give birth and your mind knows how to give birth. All right. And so, yes, take it from there. Well, and then we get all involved. Then we're listening to the babies and we're telling mothers of getting in and out of birth. Then we're looking at exams and positions and all of these things. We're dragging women into a very clinical medical milieu, all right, rather than a practical holistic milieu. Now, I'm not throwing away the medical milieu. There is a medical side to birth, okay? All right. And if we need to use that medical side of birth, I have no compunction about the activities there. All right. And we can be clinical. I mean, if a woman wants us to use clinical program tools with her, like checking a cervix or feeling the position of the baby or doing a vaginal or breaking waters or things like that, if a woman wants that, those clinical procedures are okay. All right. Uh, Practical, medical, clinical, practical, holistic. All right. There we have this evolutionary pattern. And the practical side of this is the grand midwives of the South. They were very practical women. They were not medical. They did no clinical procedures whatsoever except cut the cord after the birth. Okay. They were the silent witness with the mother many times. They understood. They understood that this is a woman's transformation. I'm going to keep saying it. That this wasn't given to her. These as midwives, we sit in the corner and serve by being the presence of reassurance and by allowing, as imagine we're allowing women to find themselves. This is not okay. Women are allowing their caregivers to enter the portal that they are creating as they move through labor. All right. Midwives shouldn't be guiding women. Women should guide midwives. See what I'm saying? I'll say it again. Midwives don't need to be guiding women. Women guide the midwife as to, or the birth keeper, or the doctor, or the doula, or whomever. I say midwife because midwife means with woman. All right. And I know there's a lot of, connotations and co-option of the word and whatever. But I think if you sit with women at birth, you're a midwife, whether you're a doctor, and that it just evens the playing field in a sense. No matter what role you have, you are here to make things better for women. And for me, wrestling with that dark angel, I came out of that realizing this is not my birth. It's my ego to get involved in this and say, oh, I did a good job. She had a great birth. Yeah, I was the first person to touch her baby. Wow. When I hear those things now, I mean, I just drench. Okay. Uh, why? Should I be the first person to touch her baby? No. What happened to me was I had a whole outlook, a new outlook on birth that came from what I just said to you, that this is a woman's transformation. And I'm not there to give that to her. All right. I'm there to make sure that nothing stands between her and her decisions, between her and her baby, between her and how she wants to bring her baby to this earth. Okay. My job, all right, is to elevate her and celebrate her. Okay. And after the birth, to help her integrate all of the magic and transformations and mystical components of everything that she got. You know, I I teach now, okay? I went to births for 40 years in rural Georgia, where women were very non-resourced, all right? A lot of women who lived in trailers, that kind of thing. And then I have practiced, so I practiced for about 21 years, and then I started to teach because those women that I'm giving thanks for said to me, "Okay, Whapio, we have taught you well." And I was like, "Yes, indeed. Much gratitude. Now go out and teach." All right, take this message out there. Take the message that showed you. We showed you how we take our birth, and and we asked you to be that silent witness, and you were. And they're added another dimension to our birth. Okay, a woman has told me 2 births, and I knew something is still missing, and I keep doing it again, Wapio. I don't want to get pregnant again, but I want what I missed. Okay, so this is it, being able to articulate it and finding it in another birth or finding it in some other way, some other transformational place in life, or to get it in your postpartum. All right? To take that story of your birth and have a midwife who could be a doula or a midwife, a clinical midwife. All right, to have that person deconstruct that birth with you, go over it, let you help you pull out the gifts that you have given by being a mother and having this baby, no matter how it was. All right, if you had a C-section or if you had a beautiful, you know, birth with the angels singing in the corners, okay? I wish you to have the best birth that you want to have, okay? And I also know and hold the space for you that every birth is a gift, no matter what. And sometimes I was there in the postpartum so I could help a woman deconstruct, like, well, what happened here? And especially if women, I haven't done this too much because I don't work with hospitals much, but women who have had hospital births who have asked, what is the question? All right. Why, what did I miss? And we kind of go over her birth and talk about, well, where was the point where you stepped out of the influence of other well-meaning people and made your own decisions and were accountable for your own decisions? This is so forward thinking. I'm 78 years old and I'm still here, and I never thought I would get to be seven. Back in my, wild days, I never thought I would be 78, but I am powered by the idea of evolution. I want us to evolve, and I want to be part of it. And I know that birth is a portal to that. And every woman who gives birth, and there are plenty of them, opens a portal if she can. All right. Now, sometimes we can't. Why? Because there's too much interference from the outside. And I'm also saying I'm very grateful for all of the people who have something to offer pregnant women. All right. I'm just asking that we sit and we think about birth in its magnitude, not just in its physiologic exiting the uterus, the expulsion of the uterus, medically speaking, or clinically speaking. We can have all of those things. And so I'm coming with the idea of mystical intelligence. All right. I am an intelligent woman and I like my intelligence, but my intelligence without the mysticism is flat. And I'm not flat. And I like my mysticism. All right. I like the the deeper realms that we are able to travel in different altered states. But I like my mysticism undergirded by intelligence. So I feel like I am a mystically intelligent person, and I want to see that evolve in our births. I want to see that we have a physiologic arena that it unfolds in, but we also have a mystically a mystically intelligent theater, okay, that unfolds the drama in a good way, the drama of giving birth, okay, all right? So I feel like we can do all of it. And I feel like 5 years from now, I feel like 5 years from now, things will be different. I really do. Maybe 10 years. All right. Remember what I'm saying here, because I said this 30 years ago, and we have come way more closely. Years ago, when the word undisturbed birth came about, people even took offense. Midwives and midwives took offense. You mean people don't want us there? Well, of course they do. They just don't want you doing their birth for them. Okay? We don't want a doctor. Well, we might love our doctors. We might find that our doctors are really great and give great care. It doesn't mean we want to abandon the medical model or the clinical model. All right? We want to keep the practical model, certainly, too, the way the grand midwives did, but we also want the quantum model. Holistic now has done its run for me. Okay. I don't use the word very often because I believe we're not really holistic in many ways. All right. Holistic means that we take care of the body, but we also take care of the mind and the soul. And I'm finding like a lot of the newer caregivers that are coming along are still attached to the more of the medical model and putting the mystically intelligent model on the back burner. Oh well, I feel it's just a matter of, well, when we first started talking about undisturbed birth, it was like, what? And now it's at the dinner table. Okay. Well, what kind of birthday are you having? Hospital, home, midwife attended, unassisted, undisturbed. All right. It's in there with our birthing vocabulary. Look at all the changes that women have had since 1982 when I started, going to births and apprenticing. Uh, Look at all that from a few people having home birth and most everyone going to the hospital. Now it's not even that way. All right. Hospital's a choice. All right, for some people. But for some people, it is a choice. I have to think about that. I'm drawn toward both of those things. There are pros and there are cons, and so on and so forth. Some people then are also totally unconflicted that this is what I want. I want my birth. And I want someone accompanying me. I do. And I want my partner there. I want my partner to be honored by whomever I choose to have in the birthing space with me. You know what? There's a little meme out there, and I don't know who put it out there, but I'll say whoever did hit the nail on the head. And it said, a woman's greatest risk in birth today, ready, is her choice of caregiver. Well, let's let that land, okay? Why? Because you often get the birth of your caregiver. You get what your caregiver basically does to unfold birth in a meaningful and profound way and in a compassionate and caring way and conscientious way, but you get your caregiver's birth. Follow what I'm saying? I'll say it again. The greatest risk a woman has today is her choice of caregiver. So choose wisely. Choose someone who can be invested in you. All right. Oftentimes the family comes down on a scale of importance. They come down to the third or the fourth. Many birth keepers have to have a license, all right, to practice. So they are indebted to their license. They have a system that they're in. Then they have their colleagues that they have to please in the sense of working together. And then we have the family. And one thing I loved about my practice was I don't have any licenses. I don't have anybody that I have to uh, return to, all right, except who's ever working, in the sense that there's a God above and I am, attached to that. But otherwise, I'm totally, totally invested in a family. When I go to a birth, they are the most important persons. That mother, father, baby, and whomever are the most important people in my life right now. You are. I am invested in you. All right. I can carry your desires. I have your back. You do not have to please me. I have to please you. All right. I know that you don't need to guide me, but I'm here in the corner, click, click, click with the needles if you need me. And you would be surprised at how many women, that's all they need. Oh, it is so ironic to me today that we have pregnancy and prenatal care, we have birth, and then we have postpartum and postpartum care. And I have found that women really love to have a pregnancy companion, all right? Because especially if this is your first birth or if it's your first home birth or something different, you're out of hospital, all right? They love having someone who is there for them, someone who's a fountain of information, which is, if you're a birth keeper, I think that women are worth you being a fountain of information. So learn everything and learn everything and use it wisely, which is my mantra, okay? Yeah, learn everything and use it wisely. Sometimes not at all. Sometimes for a good reason. All right, you know that. So what was I saying now? All right. We were talking about, women wanting a companion. Yes, someone who's a fountain of information, someone who can answer questions without loading it toward one or the other side. Okay. Sometimes women don't get the transparent truth that they're looking for. So that's what they want from you. Tell me the truth. And you're like, I will, because it doesn't matter to me if you choose my services or not. Okay. Or it doesn't matter to me what midwife you go to. All right. Or what doctor you go to. I just want you to have the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that's one thing that women are missing, transparency in what they're being offered. We're not very transparent with things. We say we're holistic and then we're not because we're still using the clinical protocols of the medical model, only we're nicer. All right. And then and then that even has a step up from that. The quantum step is that we raise the consciousness of birth. We return birth to the family. We are guided by the family, not we guide them. Now, I know that there are plenty of women out there who would say, oh, I want to be managed. I want you to manage me. I want you to guide me. I say, great. That's a good choice you're making for you. All right. I have no, I have no ideas that one way of giving birth is better than another. The best way about giving birth is the one that's most natural, authentic, instinctual to you. All right. And if that means you want to be in a hospital or in a birthing center or at home by yourself, at home with just your woman, with just your partner, hey, I'm realizing that when women are given the opportunity and encouraged even with the opportunity to make your decisions, not mine, we take one big step toward evolution. And I'm here for the evolution. All right. And I see it coming. More and more women are poking up their heads, or those seeds are now coming to fruition, and women are saying, I want my birth. And I'm asking you also to think about that. Did that happen for you? And when I talk about this, women are like, yes, yes. I mean, one woman said, and this is even at a home birth with just a woman and her husband and her mother. And she said, my husband was so attentive to me that, and I was so grateful for him, but he obstructed my ability to go deeper into the altered states because he was so worried about, do you need a drink of water? He kept pulling me out, pulling me out, pulling me out. And I just wanted everyone to be quiet so that I could hear my baby. All right? Because when you are in this place, the veils between you and connecting with your child are very, very thin. And we don't want to obstruct that. We don't want to disturb that. That is the ultimate. We don't want to disturb a woman's ability to enter different states of consciousness and give birth. All right? And give birth authentically, organically. If somebody guides you through the whole birthing experience, is that really organic? Well, women are telling me it's not. All right? That they want to do it themselves. And if I need you, I'll call you. And that's pretty unheard of right now. But in 5 years, midwives are going to be for high risk people. Okay, because hopefully the average person won't need a lot of coaching and information and uh, sometimes expecting you to have a certain knowledge, all right, that they insist on at birth. Oh, I don't want to get into the idea of different caregivers. There are different caregivers out there. They do different things. And I guess my bottom line point is women are free to choose any and all of those things. And I will stand for you. I will stand with you in your choices. My standing with you doesn't mean I will tell you you have to have, an independent birth or that's better or something. No, I'll just tell you the birth that unfolds for you that you choose, all right, is the best for your transformation. Okay, so, all right, here's something that I have wondered about over the last 40 years is the fact that birth has been monetized now, capitalized on. There are a lot of things out there, okay, that women don't need that they're encouraged to do. And some women are just paralyzed in the sense of how many choices. Should I get this? Should I get hypnobirthing? Do I need fetal positioning classes? Do I need this? I need that? I think all of these things that are available for pregnant women, all right, all of these things that are available for them are wonderful. But they're sending the message that we can't give birth without them. Oh, you need to get a hypnobirth. I don't want to pick on anybody, all right, because all of these things are relevant. Oh, but you need to do that and you need to do this. No, you don't. I want to say that we instill in in women the idea that they have to have certain things when in truth we are, well, we're doing the same thing that the medical model does in a way. The medical model, what does the medical model offer? Basically, testing. Okay. A lot of testing. That's what you kind of get, all right? You get a lot of testing to make sure your baby's okay. That's what the medical model offered. And women were like, that's not what we want. We want something else. So we offered what? Hypnobirthing, spinning baby, all of these things, okay? With the idea that this, instead of going and getting all these tests, oh, just come over here and learn hypnobirthing or homeopathy for birth or any of those things. You don't need them. Michel Odent talks about this. He did talk about this when he was alive, that women go through different mechanisms that are not useful. Okay. He thinks it's not useful really to rupture a woman's bag of waters at 5 centimeters or or any centimeters unless it's emergent or something. All right. He says it's not useful and he goes through it. I would love for you to read a little bit about with of Michel Audin. All right. His seminal book written in 1984 was called Birth Reborn. And he's talking in this book about all of this. He's talking about coming to the understanding that women are in altered states, and that when they are in altered states, there is a flow. All right. He doesn't talk about that a lot, but I picked up that. All right. I knew this. I know that birth is not, that birth happens in an altered state. Don't you? Have you had a baby? Did you feel like you were in, I mean, I guess it's unique to each person, but most women tell me, oh, yes, I was somewhere else. And my husband was wonderful and loving, but I wish he had stopped and didn't talk to me so much. But of course, I couldn't tell him because it was so wonderful that he had me in his arms and in his heart. Okay. But I honestly wished he had been quiet because I was trying to do something. Or what were you trying to do? I was trying to get into the deeper altered states. And I kept getting pulled out. And that is the chore, all right, for the doula is to be careful, all right, to prevent things from coming between the mother and her baby, to help a mother maintain her altered state of consciousness. And I urge you, if you want some reading materials, I encourage you to read about brainwave states. All right, we know all about the hormones of pregnancy. All right, but what about the brain waves? What's your brain doing in pregnancy? We know what your heart is doing. We know what the baby's heart is doing. We listen. All right. So, but what is your brain doing in labor? Well, you're going into deeper, deeper levels of consciousness. Why? So your perspective, all right, will be widened. You'll be able not just to think things or to feel things, but to know things in the altered state. And you know how to birth your baby. That's where you know. It's not up here. And it's not really here. It's in the soul level place where, that place of isness, that you know things that you don't know here or here, all right, but that are revealed to you when you go into these deeper states. Now, I'm not making this up. This, you can study brainwave states. There's numbers of books out there, okay, The Awakened Mind and a couple of things like that. I encourage you to participate more in learning about where women go. They go deeper. And I'll tell you this, and when I tell you this, women are like, yeah, that happened to me too. Okay, years ago, when I would first meet people, all right, and we would, having an interview about having a home birth. The men, the dads, and partners were usually really, okay, what about the safety of this? Women didn't talk about that to me. They were like, oh, is this safe, Whapio? They knew that. They were unconflicted about that. The men were kind of conflicted about, is this safe? Okay. The women, if they had any conflicts, was about how will I deal with the pain when I'm home? All right. What if I get, you know, transformed through pain? I don't necessarily want to do that. But okay, what happens for pain relief? And I'm like this. Okay. We have a lot of stress and focus on pain relief because we have destroyed, without meaning to, a woman's deeper connections to giving birth. All right. And then we've clouded it over because we've disturbed her. All right. We disturb with lights and the tea people. And, when my mother was having me, it was in a room of 10 people, each one behind a green curtain in different stages of labor. Some were crying, some were hollering, some were like feeling deathly ill. All right. So, you know, what we don't want to do in that scenario of 10 beds, okay, there was nothing that seemed holy or sacred about that. All right, women were just waiting in their beds till they were allowed, till the baby was going to push. All right. Then we began to have something called respect and humanity, and we ended all of that. All right. I remember when I first started midwifery that this is prevalent in some hospitals. Then they gave women two in a room, four in a room. Then they put two in a room instead of 10. Then now it's one in a room. We have demanded that. All right. All right, for our comfort. The other thing is now not disturbing a woman, being able to give a woman warmth, dark, she needs it, silence, privacy, and safety. Those are really important things, that she's warm, or otherwise, if she's contracted, she can't let go. Warmth, dark. All right? Birth happens in the dark for many people. All right? To just take them to enhance that going away from the daily reality into the altered state. So there's warmth, dark, privacy. Oh, of course, privacy. If you're making love with somebody and somebody comes in, wow, that is a, you know, that drops it right there. So warmth, dark, privacy, silence, silence, silence. Words coming from up here distract a mother who's going beneath the feelings, beneath the thinking, beneath the feelings, into the soul level. And when you get deeper and deeper, meaning that things are starting to recede now. When you get deeper, you realize that the pain is no longer an issue. Oh, it might be there, but it's in the background because that's not what's important right now. What's important right now is you and your baby tuning in with each other, aligning. All right? So, what happens then is you don't need pain relief. You need pain relief if you stay up in your head, all right, for hours and hours and hours. You need pain relief if you cannot break that, all right, and come into your inner compass, which is saying, I need to be alone right now. Not abandoned, but just not interrupted, just not disturbed. You see, this is what we mean by disturbed. We don't mean women saying, oh, I want everybody out of the room right now. This is my thing. Goodbye. No, we just want caregivers who don't disturb women with a lot of the clinical, medical tools that are available. All right? The pain recedes. I just did a podcast, and the woman who was hosting me was like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened to me. You know, when I got deeper, the pain, there was no pain, or if there was, it wasn't important. It was, what was important was me gathering together my baby. All right. My brain, now your brain waves slow down here. You're in a theta delta wave. We have four categories of brain waves: beta, thinking; alpha, feeling; all right, theta, knowing; delta, knowing God. All right. Wouldn't you want to know your baby? Your baby is in a state of delta brainwaves. Your baby is with the creator. Your baby is with source. What your baby is wanting is for you to come down here with me. All right. When we say, you know, think of your baby, what are we doing? We're really saying, go down to that deepest brainwave, slowest, deepest brainwave that your baby is in. Join your baby there. All right. And talking and even supporting, touching a woman can bring her out of her altered state. All right. So this is an important discussion with people. I mean, I'm a midwife who doesn't disturb you. I'll be in the corner, you know. I don't catch babies. I have to tell you this. So, when I learned the Hispanic phrase for giving birth, I took a knee, okay? It's to give light. And I was like, wow, Yes, to give light. And what I realized is that I didn't put that light in that mother's womb. And I'm not the right person to catch that light. I never caught another baby again. It's the responsibility of the family to decide who they want to catch their baby. And almost always, 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 it's the dad or the father of the baby or the partner, okay? This is what I see. Women and their partners birthing together. I'm the presence of reassurance in the room, out of their field. I am not ever going to go in their field, and I am certainly never going to touch another woman's baby before she does, without her permission. That is not my privilege. And in a realm and in a world where we're all talking about privilege, all right, sometimes the medical model gets a pass, and that's not okay. All right, it is not your privilege to handle another woman's baby. And it's a swinging door. Women have to also say, my baby will be born spontaneously. All right, in second stage, my baby will be born. No, there's a study out there that was done in the 50s that showed a woman is capable of having a completely spontaneous second stage. Okay, I could talk forever about that. All right. But my point is there's so much we don't really not it's not a matter of knowing, or it's not a matter of learning. It's a matter of there's so many things that we don't even know that we don't know. So what we're trying to do here is to raise the consciousness of birth, all right? Be that person who understands the magnitude of birth. If you understood the magnitude of birth, what birth could pivot, all right? The transformation that could occur because of birth. We would never do the things that we do to women, by the way. We would never be allowed to abuse a woman in birth. Are you kidding? We would never be allowed to put your hands up in a woman's vagina without her specific appointment there, okay? We would never be able to tell women horror stories when they're giving birth, okay? We would never do these things if we understood the magnitude of birth. Do you follow me? It's just learn your brainwave states. Talk to women, all right? Understand what happens in the postpartum where a woman is telling her story. And then I went into this other place and there was no pain there. Or I didn't think about the pain anymore. It wasn't like I was even thinking, oh, there's no pain here. It just kind of recedes. And every doula should know this, because what we're doing is we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on mechanisms and classes and various things that are alleviating pain when it's so simple. Your body was never made to confuse or confound you. You know, your body was never made it agonizing to give birth. Why? Why would you do that? All right, to a transformational event. No. All right, so there's so many things that we can talk about here today, but time is of the essence. So I would like to open the floor for some questions. If anyone wants to pursue any of this that we're talking about, I would be glad to do that with you. All right, or give you a little bit more information about who did a study that showed that 89 out of 100 first-time women had a completely second stage that required nothing. All right, no coaching, nothing. If you want more information on that, I can give it to you. We can talk more about altered states, or if you have, excuse me, any questions about that. All right, or undisturbed birth. And once again, undisturbed birth does not mean that there's no one with a woman. It means that she is not disturbed in her labor. And one of the precursors to that is that she chooses to make her own decisions and to be responsible for the outcome. And what we have right now is a lot of women who want these, to have their own, make their own decisions, but don't want to be responsible for anything. So we have to really look at that. All right. That's bringing the whole thing forward. Is if we make choices, we are responsible for the outcomes. And I see a lot of that. Well, if something happens, then it's your fault. It's as the birth keeper. All right, we have to have more conversation about that.
Mm.
And before we end this piece here, I want to tell you that there are numerous ways that you can enter the birthing field as a caregiver or a birth keeper or something like that. All right, you could be a doctor, you could be a midwife, you could be a doula. And then when I was a baby midwife back in the 80s, all right, apprenticing, there were women called monitrices, a monitrice. And a monitrice is a woman who, unlike a doula, she doesn't come to your into your pregnancy at the very end. She's with you from the very beginning. She is that partner that you're looking for, that companion that will be with you, okay, during your entire childbirth continuum, all right? During your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum as you choose. All right. Okay. You, she's a monitress is someone who is there with you for all of the time of your pregnancy. She doesn't do any clinical work. All right. She's not keeping charts on you and things like that. But she does have basic midwifery skills. She is able to follow the progress of labor. She's able to check a cervix and give you results if that's something you want. She can listen to your to the baby's heart rate, okay, fetal heart tones, and she can understand them. All right. So she has a level of understanding that a doula does not have. All right, in terms of skills. Okay, recognizing a hemorrhage and different things like that, knowing when to go in if you don't need, she's just a birthing companion. All right. And then, so we have this program now where we're offering a certification as a monitrice. All right. We have a doula class starting, and you want to have a doula class before you go into this program. So we have one in a couple of weeks. And then we also have starting our monitrice program in October, all about the monitrice, 4 days with me. We're also having a breathing and breathing class, okay, as well as, oh, it's really good. Go to our website if you're interested in something like this. All right, so I have a question from Sophie, and unfortunately, it just went off the chat here. Is there a chat box? Let me see.
I can read it out loud too. They're coming in from YouTube. So if anyone's watching over there, please send in the chat. I'll read them out to Whapio. So, question from Sophie: any advice being a silent witness doula in a hospital setting with noisy and intervening midwives and doctors?
Well, okay. Um, yes, that is a problem. All right. But I feel like what you want to do is this. There's such a thing as a physiologic birth versus a managed birth. If you go into a hospital, you will have a managed birth. That's the default, unless you ask for something different, which would be a physiologic birth. Now, this is a golden word, physiologic birth. What it means to the caregiver is that, oh, you're not going to be managed. You're going to go along with your body's flow itself. In other words, no one is going to give you a vaginal unless you ask. No one is going to break your membranes. No one is going to tell you to push. No one is going to cut the cord. No one is going to do those things until your membranes will rupture when your body's ready to take. Your body will start pushing and then you'll push. All right. So, um, have this discussion with your family. Do you want a physiologic birth? Or do you want a managed birth? Some people are very happy with a managed birth. Yes, just tell me everything to do. But other people are like, no, I really would like to have, something quiet, something peaceful, something that goes along with my own rhythms and alignment, and that's organic to me. Yes, I'd like to have an organic birth. All right. Um, so she needs to tell her doctor that too. All right. Your doctor deserves to know what you're planning. And if you're something out of the ordinary, like, you know, uh, well, intending to manage you and you have something entirely different, there's a clash. So tell your doctor. And if your doctor says something silly like, well, all births are physiologic, you know you got the wrong guy. Okay? You want someone, who's a little more savvy, I guess. Now, it's hard to find that person sometimes, so you do the best you can, all right? And you talk to your doctor about what you want. And often enough, if you come off, all right, as a person who knows what they're talking about, or has no conflict about what they want, oftentimes your doctor's impressed by that, the nurses are impressed by that, and you do get what you ask for. And so you can say to the nurse, I won't be getting vaginal exams unless I feel like I want to know what's going on with my cervix. Oh, okay. Did you talk to your doctor about this? Yes. All right. And it's in my charts or something like that. You see, you want to set it up nicely so that when you get there, you don't have to argue, you don't have to fight, but you do have to be brave. Some of us, I've been there, capitulate to authority. You know what I'm saying? The nurse is your authority, so you're going to get this vaginal because she wants to do it. And you don't want any problems, and okay, okay. We capitulate to that. So here's the great thing about birth. The father of the baby holds the charge. All right? Now, what do I mean? The father isn't in charge of your birth? No, the father of the baby, holds the charge. In other words, no doctor's taking your baby home. No nurse is taking your baby home. No hospital's keeping your baby down in the basement for any reason. But the father of the baby is taking responsibility here, whether he knows that or not. So make it work for you. If the father of the baby says, "Oh, she doesn't look comfortable. Let's get her out of bed." Oh, okay. You get to make decisions like that. She doesn't want a vaginal. Oh, okay. Your doctor wants you to have one so we can see how things are going. Oh, I have a doula, or I have a friend who can help me or whatever. You see what I'm saying? You have to ask for these things. Um, the woman I was talking yesterday just about a woman who said to the staff, I am going to have a silent birth. All right. If you need to do any talking, you need to go out in the hall. No one is allowed to speak in this room. All right. Once I start my labor, once I begin and once I get in active labor, there will be no more communication. Did she tell her doctor about that? And by the way, did the doctor then also tell that to the other people that could be her doctor or caregiver? Okay, you don't always get your doctor, and so that should be in your charts. It should say having a physiologic birth will, will refuse vaginal exams, forced pushing, water's ruptured, will get out of bed, will only have intermittent feeding and monitoring. You know what I mean? It's like that. You have to, dads, fathers of the baby, partners, if you want to be the partner and you're not a man, you have to go a different step. You may have to have a letter. Okay, decide telling, that this person can make decisions for you, just like your father, the father of the baby can make decisions for you and your baby. All right. And if the father says, no, she doesn't want that, or here's a good one, I heard her say no, let's not do that. Oh, okay. And remember now, hospitals have strategies. If the doctor wants you to have your waters ruptured because it's not, he thinks that it'll make the doctor or she thinks that it'll make the birth go faster, okay, then, you might have to explain more, or you might have to, you have to stay your ground. Okay, because for some people, especially people going to a hospital and it's their first time, it's overwhelming. All right, but just relax. What does the mom do? The mom tells you what you want. Oh, I don't want any vaginals. Well, then it's up to the dad to make sure that doesn't happen. All right, we're going to have we're going to check your cervix. Your doctor wants to know how you're doing. Okay, so we're just going to do a little quick vaginal. The woman looks at her partner and he is like, what? Oh, she doesn't want a vaginal. All right, we're having a physiologic birth. All right, you got to know these things. You, as a doula, all right, you as a doula have to sometimes work for the dad because a mother can sometimes say something and it gets run over. It does not listen to. No, I don't want that. Oh, you have to. Your doctor's coming in an hour, and he wants progress. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, says the dad. We're having a physiologic birth, meaning that we are not having vaginal exams. I'd like for us to respect that. Wow, you're savvy. Next thing you know, you're asking for this, you're asking for that, and you're getting it. All right? And basically, you're not doing that. You're helping the dad advocate for his partner. Guys, dads, fathers of babies, and partners, okay, you hold the charge here. A woman is considered vulnerable and not capable of making decisions because she's emotional in her labor. Therefore, if you don't step up and hold the reins, the staff assumes that you're giving the power to the medical model to make decisions and to carry them out. All right. So the dad, you have to be aware. Doulas, you, I mean, a lot of doulas don't advocate. I feel like, well, that's a really key thing to do. That's what the woman really needs. Not somebody necessarily rolling a rolling pin down her back, but somebody who will stick up for her. And now it could be, should be her husband because he is her perfect intimate advocate. He's perfect. I don't mean he's perfect in every way, but he's the perfect person to advocate for her. He holds the charge. All right. He's her intimate advocate. He's the person that's most intimate with her in this room. And he is allowed to advocate, as is anybody. Okay. We have patient advocates who usually advocate for the hospital. All right. So who's advocating for you? Well, you're going to go in and, the hospital is going to assume a lot of things unless you tell them. And it's especially great when the dad says, hey, we're having one of those physiologic births. Could you send us a nurse that's trained in that, or that has seen physiologic births rather than managed births? Whoa. Hey, a marriage could depend on this. Your partner, I'm addressing the man now, the father of the baby who's standing by. Your partner has said, I don't want vaginals. Here comes the nurse saying, you have to have a vaginal. She looks at you. What are you going to do? Just say, no, no. How does that feel to a woman, do you think? That something that she wanted wasn't upheld by her husband? Why? Because he was afraid of something? And we're not going to be antagonistic here. I'm not saying that to dads. I'm saying in very gentle ways. Well, we're having a physiologic birth. And you may get Edna or somebody who's like, well, I don't know what that is. All right, then ask for another nurse. Nurses know that if you're not satisfied or you're not in alignment with them, the family has every right to ask for a different nurse. Okay? All right. So, but let's look at this one. The nurse comes in, says, well, we're going to check your cervix now to see how you're doing. Your doctor wants to know. And you look at your partner, and your partner goes, oh, no, we're not having that. She's having a physiologic birth, and I don't think this would make her happy. Or, no, I heard her say no. All right? You're in the clear. You weren't antagonistic, but if you just let her sit there Well, no, but you're saying to everyone by your demeanor, I'm the man here. I will make the charge. I hold the charge. I will help my wife with her decisions. She doesn't want a vaginal right now. Let's not keep asking about it. Thank you so much. Now that's hot. I'm telling you, that's hot when a woman is like, "It's my man." Okay, keep it coming. See, most of us, very few midwives or doctors ever tell a woman or her family that the father holds the charge. If the father says, no, she doesn't want an episiotomy, the, the scissors will go down because he knows, the doctor knows that you could sue him, all right, for doing something when he said directly with the with people present, we are not going to do that. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want that. Let's not do that. Or I can see that she's not happy. Let's try another position. Let's let her get out of the bed. Honey, do you want to go in the tub? Oh, I'd love to go in the tub. Let's get me in the tub. Let's get you in the tub. All right? Oh, well, I don't know if we have any tubs available. Well, you know what, says the dad. We came to this hospital so that we could have a tub. Could you make sure that you get us one? Thank you so much in advance for that. This is very meaningful to us. You've been very gracious. All right. Now, hopefully, the nurse will be gracious and find a tub or something, and then something. Does this work all the time? Okay. You know, All right. So I think I've been giving you something really good here to know that dad's, the father of the baby, holds the charge. If you're a single mom, you can choose someone that you want to hold the charge. You can pick that if it's your mom, if it's your doula or something like that, and you go and you get it notarized. You say, I choose my mom to make decisions for me. Okay? Because if you don't, the hospital will. The hospital will make all the decisions, and you will assume that, well, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? No, not at all. And by the way, if you're in a hospital, I would not allow, I'm telling you this, it's a weird little thing, but hold on to your baby. Okay, refuse to have your baby taken away. Oh, we're just going to over here and examine your baby. Your baby's breathing really fast. The dad can go over there and say, give me my baby immediately. And that they have to. Now, they might argue with you, so you might have to be persistent. All right, talk about this. If you are pregnant now and planning a hospital birth and you want something different, you can get a lot of stuff. All right, if the dad intercedes. All right, if the father, it's the father holds the charge legally, lawfully, familially, he's the head of the family. Socially, he pays child support if he leaves. Religiously, he's the father of the household. Okay? If you are any one of these things, it's legal. This is a legal thing that you hold the charge, by the way. This is legal. This is lawful. It is lawful for you to demand immediately that someone give you your baby and not take the baby away again. Because if you give the baby to somebody, even a nurse, that means you are saying, I want you to hold this for me because I'm uncomfortable or I have to go to the bathroom or something. No, you and the mom and the dad always hold their baby. Don't let anyone take your baby out of your hands, especially if you really don't want procedures that are going to be done to your baby or a newborn exam that is very invasive. Okay. Well, and if someone wants to do a newborn exam, they can do it right here on the bed with me. All right. And we're all very gentle. You know, sometimes the hospital will want to deny you the charge. You just have to keep coming on back with it. Keep coming on back. Keep coming on back. And I'll tell you one other thing, and I don't want to incite anyone, but if you felt like you were mistreated in a hospital, you weren't listened to, do not complain to the hospital. Your complaint will go into the wastebasket, okay? You complain to the person who holds that nursing license or that doctor's license to practice medicine. That's where you go. All right? To the person who holds the doctor's license. All right? That's where you complain. And if a doctor knows that you are going to think about even doing that, the doctor will release, all right? He will release his charge to you, to the doctor. Okay, I have a question now. What would be your biggest piece of advice for a doula attending her first birth? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So I think that one of the best things is holding the altered state for a mom. Okay, having a discussion with her about that you go into another reality, another level of consciousness where your perception is expanded. You know things now. You know things. So your job as a doula is to make sure nothing comes between a mother and her baby. I think if you are if you are attending her first birth, okay, there needs to be some dialogue. I mean, for me, I would have dialogue about you'll go to another place, a place of great knowing. You won't want to be disturbed. Feel free to let us know that you do not want anyone in the room to cry or touch you or give you support even, like, oh, you're doing so good. Some people are like, don't say that. you know. All right, it's all well-meaning, but it is interruptive. So explain to your mom that, and I definitely would have I would definitely have the family that I'm with know about the dad holding the charge. And men, they're not really emotional at first. So when you lay this on them that you hold the charge for the birth, the doctor's like, no way. This is why we hired a doula. No, 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 no. Okay. And dads come around. They see the common sense here. Yeah, right. Who should be in charge of the birth? Some doc, or somebody that I don't know very well or have never met or have met for the first time. Okay, I know I'm talking a lot about hospital, like, or that kind of thing. Don't go there, all right? Because the potential for abuse can be very high. So know what you're talking about as a doula. Know, all right, that legally that dad has a right to say no. No, she don't give her that. No, we don't want Pitocin. No, we don't want our doula to leave us for 1 second because doctors have a habit of saying, okay, everybody needs to leave the room. And that includes the doula. So what does the dad say? Oh, no, 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 no. Our doula stays with us all the time. No, and the doctor says, no, I need a private conversation with you. And the dad is just, no, our doula doesn't leave the room. And the both of you stand fast. The doctor has no right to do this, but we don't know, so we give our power to the doctor as if the doctor were in charge of your birth. And he's not or she's not. Let me tell you a little story. I know we're going on for a bit, but it doesn't look like we have anything else here on the question thing. So, one time I had a friend, and she's a midwife, and she was a doula also. And she said she worked with this couple and they wanted to have a hospital birth and they wanted to have a vaginal birth in the hospital. They were very keen on not having things go crazy. So she said the mom had a seizure in her pregnancy at about 6 months. And no one knew why she had a seizure. All right. She went to the hospital. They said, everything's okay. Everything's okay with your baby. It looks like you're okay. We don't know. All right. We don't know. And she was like, oh, well, okay. And they said it may happen again, but it may never happen again. It might have been a connection of, the way something was written or, just one of those things. She said, okay. She was satisfied with that. So they were now fast forward to the doula, Emily, her name was, is to have said, okay, now I'm your doula, but I want you to know that you, dad, hold the charge for the birth. And she went through this whole discussion that I'm, legally, lawfully, socially, familially, spiritually, the whole bit. You hold the charge for the birth because you will be taking your wife home with that baby, no one else. All right. And so she was telling him this, and he was like, well, if I'm holding the charge for the birth, what do I have to do? Do I have to read any books or anything? She was like, no, you just protect your person here. And he said, oh, well, I can do that for sure. Okay. Now, a lot of times men are emotionally like, oh, no, I can't do that. Give them some time. Don't accept the first answer. You know, most men, uh, yeah. Let's see. Do they say they have to be educated about safety? All right, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so I'm telling the story where the mom is in bed, sitting up in bed, and the dad was with her, and the doula, midwife doula was there, okay? And all of a sudden, the mom had another seizure. And there were bells and whistles, and I've heard the story. Okay, I hope I'm giving all the details correctly. But what my friend had said was like the room that they were in was very, very small. She said it was a one bed and just enough room on each side to kind of go up there. Okay, and so all of a sudden, people are running in the room, and the dad and the and M get pushed back against the wall, and there's people saying, "Sit her up! No, lie her down! No, give her a drink! No, put a rag in her mouth!" And she said the dad and I just looked at each other like this is like a clown show. Nobody knows what to do here. Everybody's giving her conflicting information. And then the doctor comes in with her skirts a flying and her clipboard and there's all this commotion in the room. And the dad looks at the midwife, at the doula, and says, "Okay." And then he steps up and he says, "There are too many people in this room. You need to leave." And everybody left except the doc. Then the dad said, "Except you, doc." And she said, "Okay, I'll stay." And she stayed. So he said, "Okay, what happened?" And she said, "Well, as far as I know, your wife had another seizure, but it doesn't seem that anything has been disturbed. I can't tell you why. I don't know. All right, but you're stable right now. You and your baby are stable. And so what do you want to do?" And he said, "Well, what do you recommend?" And she said, "Oh, well, I would recommend an immediate C-section, you know." And he said to his wife, "Well, honey, what do you think?" And she said, "Oh, I want a C-section. That was terrifying. I couldn't handle that again. So I think we should have the C-section." He said, "Are you sure that's what you want?" You know? She said, "No, yes, I'm positive I want a C-section." And he said, "Okay, all right." And then he said to the doctor, "Well, um, you heard, that's what she wants, so we'll do it." And the doc said, "Okay, I'm going to get upstairs right now and get you a room ready, and we'll do it right now." Okay. And the dad said, come with me here first. Step up here." Then they both moved up. She was on one side of the mom and the dad was on the other. And the mom was sitting there between the two of them. And he looked at the doctor and he said, "This isn't what we planned, but we're gonna," and he looked at his wife and said, "We're gonna do this, right?" She said, "Oh yeah." And he said, "Doc, I want you to give my wife the highest and best C-section you have ever done. I want you to give her your highest and best." And she looked at him and she looked at the mom and she said, "I will." And then she went down to the mother's feet and she held them and she said, "Don't worry about a thing. I've got you." Okay, that's how it could be. Mutual respect. All right? If the dad's willing to do that. Okay, there's a lot on your plate, Dad. Okay, now there's a question about You mentioned not to educate mothers, just let them be. I'm sorry that that's what you're taking away because that's kind of not what I'm saying. All right. And what about fathers? Do you feel that they have to be educated about the safety of home birth? No. Um, they should be given all the information that they want and they should interpret it if they have any questions, you should be a fountain of information. Well, I don't want to say should, but you could be a fountain of information to know about this. All right. And yes, I have to say that I feel like fathers should know about the safety of birth. Education to me is just this mental thing, educating people. Do you know what I mean? No, I think we should have heartfelt relations with people. I think we should have education for you. I think you should be educated. And I think what you should do is move into a place of, heartfelt communication rather than I need to educate you about something. Um, I do feel that all right, I understand that you're saying you meant not to educate mothers, just let them be. Okay, I understand that what you're saying, but I'm not exactly saying that. I'm saying educate mothers if they ask for it. All right, and so on. And I guess you're saying, yeah, let them be. All right. Uh, all right. I don't know if I answered your question correctly or enough. Anything else you'd like to say? Because you're right. Fathers. It was brilliant, actually. Do you fathers feel that fathers need to be educated? Yeah. I think they should have lots of knowledge. That's okay. Thank you, Natalie. All right. Sorry. I think that was a good question. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm not seeing any more questions in our YouTube. I just want to share there's so many powerful things that you've shared with us here. Thank you. Like the father holding the charge for birth, pain becoming irrelevant, um, when the mother is making that connection truly with her baby. And I just appreciate all these nuggets of wisdom that you've shared, Whapio. We are going to put your website, your information in the description of where the replay of this video is hosted on our YouTube Birth Guardians page. Would you like to share your website or anything else just here verbally?
Well, it's the matrona.com. All right. And we have offered doula programs. We're offering a new monitrice program. And we also have a midwifery cohort. All right. That that we offer. Okay, so go on our site, take a look, and see if anything appeals to you. And I'd love to hear from you again. All right, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who tuned in live. You can expect more videos like this opening up today as well as throughout this month and onward. And yeah, again, thank you, Whapio. You have deeply impacted my own life as studying birth work with you. And I've just, from everyone I've talked to, they say, Whapio the Matrona, she has made a powerful impact on my life as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate your time. Mhm.
Well, that is so affirming and meaningful to me because I'll say this quickly. I want to be relevant. I want to keep saying things that need to be saying. I don't want to repeat the same old thing. I want to take us further, take us across the quantum threshold, okay? Because that's where women deserve to go if they want to. All right. Okay, mwah, to everyone. All right. And thank you. Thank you, Natalie, for sitting in with us. Okay. Um, I appreciate you. I see you nodding your head, and I'm like, okay, we're good here. Okay. Much love to everyone. All right.